For much more on Rosapenna, one of the hidden gems of Ireland. Now joining us is Frank Casey. Frank, welcome to Golf Talk Canada.
Thank you, Adam.
It's great to have you here. So, Rosapenna, home of three great courses: the old Tom Morris links, the Sandy Hill links, and most recently the new St. Patrick's links. We're going to talk about all three of them. Let's start with the old Tom Morris links back in 1893. There's some history here. Give us some background info on this great golf course.
Old Tom was commissioned by Lord Leitrim, who owned Rosapenna at the time, to come across, and he was actually commissioned to build a course around his stately home, which was actually in Carrigard, about 3 miles from here. But when he came over, he was taken on a scenic drive down into the village of Downings in the townland of Rosapenna. And it was when he came on the scenic drive that he seen all the sand dunes, and he seen all the land very close to the water. And he told Lord Leitrim, this is where you should be building a golf course, not that little bit further inland and through the trees. So he staked out the first Rosapenna links in 1891, and they opened in 1893.
Wow. So there's a ton of history with that golf course on Rosapenna. In terms of the golf itself, is it, traditional links, that sort of thing?
It is, yeah. The Old Tom Morris would be our most traditional of the three courses, where it's very much out and back. Um, Real ribbon of fairways alongside each other. Beautiful big link screens. Very hard ball, runs a mile. It's very hard and fast, built on pure sand, and plays right along the coast and then back in towards the golf pavilion here. So it's a very traditional links test of golf.
So that was the old Tom back in 1893, of course. Now, more recently, we've seen a couple of new courses, the Sandy Hills and the new St. Patrick's. Let's start with the new Sandy Hills. 2003, what was some of the reasoning behind the second golf course?
So it was really sort of, I suppose, the tiger boom and the golf boom. There's a huge golf boom in Ireland here around the late 90s and the early 2000s. So we were lucky that we had the land as part of our portfolio. So that was obviously the most expensive part, was purchasing any additional land. So we had that in the sort of to the east of the old Tom Morris course. So we use an Irish architect who had been doing quite a lot in Ireland at the time, Pat Ruddy, who also owns and operates his own golf course, the European Club in County Wicklow. That course opened exactly 20 years ago, just passed in June. So it opened in June 2003. Through the slightly higher dunes, through the more duney part of the property, obviously construction methods and obviously machinery had moved on quite a lot since the 1890s. So, going through that, the more difficult terrain was no problem for an architect and obviously the shapers. So yeah, it differs from Old Tom in that it's maybe a little bit more narrow in places because it's just the dunes, the way they funnel through the property. The greens sit a little bit higher up than they do in Old Tomorris. Old Tomorris, they all almost sit a grade at the same level as the fairway, whereas at Sandy Hills, you play up quite a lot on some of the second shots. But you get beautiful views because it's so much higher than Old Tom. You get beautiful views over Old Tom out towards Sheephaven Bay and also across St. Patrick's to the south end of the property towards Doe Castle and Ards Forest Park. It's very beautiful.
Oh, that sounds great and very beautiful, which is great to have the variety too between those two golf courses. So we've got the old Tom Morris, we've got Sandy Hills, and then most recently, just a couple of years ago, the St. Patrick's links. What can you tell us about that golf course?
So yeah, we opened St. Patrick's in June 21. So St. Patrick's was originally a pay and play facility with two golf courses that were both developed in the 80s and 90s. One was called the Mahamagorgan Links and the other was called the Tremor Links. They were owned and operated by the Walsh family in Carrigard, out of the Carrigard Hotel. So they were played as a pay and play facility for around 10 years from the mid 90s to the mid noughties. So around 05, 06, the parcel of land of 320 acres was bought by a Dublin developer who then brought in Jack Nicklaus to redesign the entire 36 holes. that project unfortunately fell by the wayside quite quickly,
Mm.
and the banks took over the property. So we purchased the property from the banks in November 2012, and then entered discussions with Tom about doing a golf course, on that site, and fast forward to 2018, we started to mow it out. We mowed out the entire course. He'd made a number of site visits, finalized his routing. So we mowed it out in 2018. We actually built a couple of greens in June 2018. We built the 14th and 15th, which is actually in one of the most exposed areas of the golf course. So just worked out. Tom and his guys had a bit of time. We wanted to stabilize that area of the golf course. So we built two greens in 2018, and then we really started in earnest in July 19 and built all the greens first. July, August, September, seeded everything. Then through the winter of 1920, we started into tee boxes and bunkering and some of the fairway work. Then unfortunately, COVID hit us in March 20, which kind of stopped us in our tracks for a little bit of time, but we're quite lucky we were able to kind of keep going. We kind of construction was almost deemed under golf course maintenance, so we were allowed to keep going. We didn't have all the staff here that we wanted. Some of the guys had to leave the country, but some of them were able to get back. And then so fast forward, finished everything up through the summer of 2020, and then opened in June 21.
Wow. And obviously, this newest course has been recognized in a big way. It was the highest new entry at 55th in a recent golf magazine top 100 in the world rankings for a course this new. What's it like to be recognized like this? All of this hard work that's put into a great golf course like this.
Yeah, it was beyond our wildest dreams to even to just scrape into that ranking at somewhere between maybe 85 and 100 would have been a dream come true. But to go in as high as 55 was a real seal of approval by by the rating panel and by the magazine, and obviously everybody involved was extremely happy with something as to have it, and so early, because the conditioning of it in 2021, it was only just open. It was still you can still see some of the construction scars. Nothing was fully grown in. It was it takes time to bed in, an awful lot more time to bed in a links course than obviously a Parkland or Heathland. So it was a dream come true to come in that high.
So we've described three great golf courses, and people might be thinking, hey, we need a place to stay. And there's a great luxury hotel on site, great amenities, some dining as well. What can you tell us about that?
That's right. We're very lucky. We, the golf and the accommodation kind of go hand in hand with where we're located. We're 2 hours from Belfast, just over 3 hours from Dublin, but we're quite remote. So like the hotel wouldn't work without the golf and vice versa. So we have a 70-bedroom hotel on site, with a number of Bayview suites with balconies overlooking the beach. It's if you go onto our website, you'll see how close the proximity to the beach. So you get beautiful sea views from your bedrooms. Beautiful restaurant overlooking that same beach, and we have food options not just in the hotel but in the main golf pavilion, which is the main golf hub, serving lunch and dinner. So yeah, it's a full on golf resort. Whenever you come here, we have everything that anyone might need, as well as a full practice ground, which is located just across from the golf pavilion. So full practice ground where everybody can do we have PGA pros who come with groups, so you can do tuition, or just simply go and warm up before you play. So you have everything that anybody might need.
Now, before we go, you mentioned groups coming through. Now, of course, the Open was held at Royal Portrush back in 2019. It's heading back there in 2025, and that means there'll be a lot of groups planning a trip around going to the Open, and Rosapenna will obviously be a big destination for people to check out, whether it's before or after the Open. What did you guys learn from 2019 in terms of people coming through that you'll be able to apply this time around in 2025?
Yeah, that was obviously the first time we experienced that. July for us would be a very busy month anyway, but with that added number of players, and like an awful lot of players were playing in a town called Letter or staying in a town called Letterkenny, which is just 25 minutes south of Rosapenna. So they were staying there and then going into Portrush every day, or every second day, and then doing the other day where they would go golfing. So they were right beside us. So yeah, it's and now with the addition of St. Patrick's, we hope to have people visiting Rosapenna on a multiple days and not just coming for one round, that they'll come here two maybe three times and go to the golf two maybe three times, in the sort of a 10-12 day period. But it was extremely busy in 2019 in and around the Open. It was a great thing to see for our whole Northwest region to be able to feed off one of the biggest golfing championships in the world.
Well, Ireland's one of my favorite spots in the world. I've had a chance to be on property at Rosapenna, and for those watching, for those listening, I highly, highly, highly recommend you go check out Rosapenna and their 3 great golf courses and facilities. Frank, thanks so much for your time today, and all the best.
No problem. Thank you, Adam.